in paradise, I kinda like it. I'm paralyzed, why can't I see your face? Feel the same way, why don't you say my name? Yeah, in paradise.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another podcast of Plant-Based Besties. I'm Debbie Chu. I'm here with my cohort, Joey. How are you doing, Joey?
Hey, Deb, it's good to be back again. I'm so glad we're recording again. To the average user who listens to us, these things come out regularly. But to us, between them, because we live so far apart, it just seems like so long since we talked to each other.
I know. We need our little fixes of each other for sure.
We do.
Now, I don't know if people know, but our birthdays are one day apart.
Yes.
So we're both Scorpios, but that's not where the similarities end. It was really funny. We both posted this video that was almost exactly the same content, and we didn't know each other was doing it. And I watched your video, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like identical to my video. We were just cracking up. It's like we're living parallel lives for some reason. I don't know. The universe has lined us together. But basically, the video that I did was just explaining what I really had to learn to lose body fat and to gain muscle. And the things I learned the hard way. And we've tried a lot of different things, haven't we, Joey, over the years?
We sure have.
We sure have. And it wasn't until I guess I was kind of in denial, thinking that, oh, I'm tracking everything. But actually I wasn't. And I explained the things in my video, just simple things like the creamer in my coffee. I would go glug, glug. Oh, that's about 2 tablespoons. Well, it was really like 6, so these calories were adding up. And once I really buckled down and tracked everything that went in my mouth, then I started losing the body fat and was able to make some progress. The scale finally moved. So I don't know. And you had a similar experience.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So we kind of came to be aware of each other when we were in the starch solution space, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were kind of aware of everyone that was kind of doing that because we were all kind of doing the same thing, right? Then it came to be it came to be where we both came to realizations at the same time. I think that we needed more than we were getting on the starch solution. And the starch solution has a huge, very loyal following, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were in that. We were like, no oil, right? Yelling at people. We were like, I mean, not really, but, and then we were like, you get all the protein you need from, look at cows. Look, they're fat, right? And look at all the protein. They just eat grass, right? Like, we were just regurgitating that stuff over and over again. And we believed it. And I got to tell you, the starch solution, I've never been more regular and healthier than when I ate on that. So, in no way am I ditching the starch solution, but it became apparent through doctor visits and as we were getting older that an aging population needs protein, right? And so we were kind of forced to have these moments, just like you said, like a realization, right? Where we're like, I've got to make a change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because it's not working. And
no. And the odd part about it is you posted a video. You were just talking about how very recently, within the last few weeks, I posted some video and you're like, did you look at my video first? And I said, no, why? And you're like, it's the same stuff. And I was like, it is? And they were like, yeah. I don't know if you're aware of this, Deb, but I went through your channel. Your first video where you posted it's all like whole food plant-based, no oil, whole food plant-based. And then there's a video on December 23rd, 2023. 2 easy protein-packed whole food plant-based breakfast ideas. That was your first posting, December 23rd, 2023. Now, at the time, we were not BFFs, right? And I don't know how we got by in life, but we just did somehow, right? And my first posting of any protein video, yours was December 23rd, 2023. It was December 26th, 2023 of IP bolognese sauce. Within 3 days of each other, we had
crazy.
I know. And we didn't know each other. I mean, we knew who each other was, but we didn't have any type of association. And we pivoted. And I believe we probably were pivoting privately already, but we just
for sure.
But it got really old making videos about stuff I'm not even following, right? And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to make a big scene about it, which I did later on. And I think we both did. But I'm just going to start pivoting and see if anyone even noticed I'm adding protein to these starch meals. Right. And I didn't know anything about calories yet or any of that stuff. But
Right.
it is so bizarre that we're 3 days apart years ago when we pivoted and both made the same adjustment and are still in the path today. And it's still happening. Right. Like sometimes I'll just be like, hey, I'm thinking about making like my own yogurt, remember? And you were like, I'm thinking about making and I'm like, what did I say, Deb? If we look at our history on YouTube, it's the same stuff, right? We're just
Right.
looking at the same things, right?
I know, it's pretty funny. Yeah. And like you said, were doing it a lot longer than we wanted to as far as our videos go. I know it was probably maybe even a year, but at least 6 months before I made that video in December. And I was like, I just wasn't feeling authentic. I was just like, I'm not doing videos that I'm true to. So that's, just had to make the cut and start doing it. So, and then it caught on. People were like, oh my God, I need more protein too. And especially when you're like, I'm, late 60s. And once you hit, what I've read is once you hit 60, you really do not absorb protein like you did when you were younger. So we have to increase it. I don't care what you say. Now, some of these YouTubers that are in their 30s, great, they can survive on 50 grams of protein a day, but we can't.
Yeah.
Not if we want to maintain our muscle. We're losing muscle at such an accelerated rate and since I started last I checked on the body pod, the Hume body pod, I've gained almost 6 pounds of muscle.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've gone from, I think I've lost almost 8% of body fat.
Holy smoke.
Yeah. And that's because I increased my protein. I was tracking my calories religiously. And it's also sleep, stress management, walking, consistently walking every day. It's a whole combination of things, but you've got to be consistent.
Yeah, I think the change we made to protein brought on a whole bunch more information that we weren't expecting, right?
Yeah.
Once we realized we weren't getting enough protein, it opened up the door to, well, how do I know? What do I do? Okay, you have to track. Okay, so now I'm tracking. What's all this other stuff, right? Like calories, right? What fat, carbohydrate, what, right? And all of a sudden, boom, the floodgates open up. And like I said before, I absolutely loved the way my digestion was in the starch solution. I loved all of that stuff. There's no doubt about it. Like that is the way to health, right? And
Absolutely.
and you and I incorporate much of that into what we do every day. But I spent years like trying to figure out, once I lost some initial weight, why eating so many potatoes a day and rice and all that, and broccoli, why that wasn't like working for me, right? And it wasn't until I had two realizations. The first was I eventually learned about calories in, calories out. And when you know that, that's it. Like it doesn't matter what you're on. Those starches, while they were amazing and I felt great, they added up fast and I was easily at a calorie surplus every day. And you're not losing weight, no matter what diet you're on a surplus, right? At maintenance, you're keeping it at where you are, but at surplus, you're gaining body fat. You're not gaining anything else. So that was the first one. I had to do calories in and out. Then, well, how do I figure that? I had to figure out my total daily energy expenditure, my BMR. The second was when I hired a trainer, and he's like, you may have lost a few pounds when you first started doing the starch solution thing, but you didn't lose fat, right? And you got to stop focusing on weight. You need to focus on losing body fat, as you know. And if you want to build anything, if you want to gain weight, you want to gain muscle. So all of that, right? All at the same time, learning that I'm a little guy, as we know, 5'1". I have very few places to hold muscle, right? I don't, 3,000 calories a day, 2,000 calories a day. My metabolic rate, my total daily expenditure with all the muscle I have was about 1,400 calories a day. Now, my BMR was with my exercise, which I wasn't really doing, was about 1,700 calories. Now it's about 2,000 with all the exercise I do. But having to be in a calorie deficit had made it much lower. So everything we learned more than we need protein. We learned like we need to be aware of what we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And, a lot of people are like, I don't want to be bothered with tracking my calories, And it's like, then don't. But, if you're stalled, I think it's a game changer, and it's not that hard. It
I,
really isn't.
you know, I think that sometimes people are afraid of what happens when you track calories. Oh, these numbers are too big. I've eaten too much. Look at that scale. Listen, as you and I know, all of this is now just data, right? Once I realized it's just numbers, I was a math teacher, I had this. That's when it all changed. And I was like, oh, because before you're like, this is like rocket science, right? It's magic, right? People are thin, people are fat. I'm eating healthy. I don't understand. It just doesn't work. I'm not magical, right? And
Right,
then when I'm like, it's numbers, I'm like, oh, okay, I totally can control this, right?
right. Yeah,
So yeah, there's that whole flood door open for sure.
right. And people are, people fast and all this, keto. And the bottom line is the reason why you're losing weight is because you were in a calorie deficit.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how you're doing it, if you're plant-based, keto, carnivore, whatever. But I think the basis of the start solution with eating all the fruits and vegetables and is so important.
Yeah.
Beans, lentils, all that. And I'm pretty much doing that. It's just every meal I have protein on my plate.
And Deb, I think for the general population who's not a short little guy like me, that starch solution, you can't possibly eat enough potatoes unless you're, I don't know, really love potatoes. You can't eat enough starches to go over like 22 or 2,300 calories a day, right? You
Yeah.
just can't. So it works fine, but there's a portion of the population that doesn't have that average metabolism. It doesn't have, it's not an average stature. And for that, those people, you're over calories. It just doesn't work. The thing with tracking is, and here's what I tell people, because you're right. People are like, I'm not tracking. If you bring up tracking, people are offended, right? You don't have to track. Well, yeah, you don't have to track if you make a plan and you stick to the same foods all week, right? Tim does tracking for the first day. He figured out what he's going to have. And then he's the same stuff every single day. No reason to track it all every day. It's the same stuff, right? But people are offended by like, oh, I don't have to track, right? Listen, here's what I would do. I would make no changes. I would make no changes to your diet. I would do exactly what you're doing, but just track everything for 7 days. And then at the end of this is what I did. And at 7 days, I was like, holy crap. Like,
That's what I did too.
Yeah, I'm not consistent on anything, right? And then I'm not getting enough of everything. I wasn't taking vitamins, and I don't have all my minerals even on the starch solution. So I'm like, oh, I need to start being aware of this. It's just data. That's it. And it's a tool to help you. It's not designed to make you feel miserable. Oh, look at that number. I'm horrible. I'm hide. Like, it's just data.
Right. It's not your hormones, your thyroid. I mean, yes, there's a small population that have those issues, but you're eating too much calories, and that's why you're not losing weight. It's super easy. Like you said, it's just math.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Make it simple. And I've also noticed other YouTubers that were Start Solution. They're not saying they're adding protein, but I see that they are in their recipes. It's like, oh, we're adding some tofu here and tempeh. And I'm like, you weren't doing that a couple of years ago.
Right.
But they're getting older too. So, and they're trying to build muscle. Yep. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is, you have to know your body. You have to plan, hey, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. What's your goal, right? It's great to be like, hey, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to eat plant-based. I'm just going to eat vegan, even if you're eating whole food plant-based. But, is your goal to meet all your numbers every day, right? Is it your goal to get all your vitamins and minerals from food? If it is, then you're going to have to do more than just eat healthy. You're going to have to plan your whole food plant-based meals every day, right? Otherwise, you're not going to hit them all. You're going to need a multivitamin. No matter what your diet, I feel like even if it's, I think the only difference is a meat eater diet, because they just eat everything and they get everything and they get too much of everything, which is why so much of the population is obese. They do get everything, I guess, but they're getting the wrong stuff. They're getting the heme iron. They're getting all that fat. They're getting all that stuff, and they're tilting the scales and the population being obese when it's mostly the people who are abusing animal products. So your goal has to be, you have to have a goal. Like, you can't just eat without a goal. And if you do, then, then either you're really young and you can do that, right? Or you're going down a dangerous path if you're older.
Yeah. And I also stopped eating for entertainment. I started eating to fuel myself. That doesn't mean I don't go out to dinner or have special occasions, but on the day-to-day, I think what am I eating to fuel myself, to build muscle, to lose fat? And that's always the forefront of my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I don't know, did we touch on the difference between vegan and plant-based?
We haven't gone there, but I know that's coming because that's kind of I mean, you and I have spent a lot of time talking about this, but we still get comments about that. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the last podcast, vegan was in the title, Vegan Myths or something. And we should have said plant-based.
Yeah.
Because vegan is not a diet, it is a lifestyle. We've said this many times. Joey and I are both vegans. In fact, this month, 14 years that I've been vegan, 100%. So we use it interchangeably, but technically, vegan is not a diet, it's a lifestyle. We should say plant-based. Anything to add?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I tell the story all the time, or anytime I have a how did I get here video where Tim and Lex go to a furniture store to get a chair, a recliner for our little movie room we have, an extra bedroom. And they find one they absolutely love, and they can't wait to show it to me. So I go in there, and the sales guy says, "Oh, you must be Joey. Come on in. I'm going to show you this. And this is what they picked out. It's beautiful." And the very first thing I say is, "What's this made of?" Right? And both, before he even answered, both Tim and Lex were like, "Oh my God, we're not getting this chair, right? It's the finest Italian leather, blah, 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 blah." And that was it. And that's the difference right there. Now I said, "Do you have something that, wasn't slaughtered?" And he's like, "Oh, we've got some vegan leather in the back. If you'd like to see that, one that looks just like this." I said, "Yes." And that's what we got. But a plant-based eater would never have thought of that.
No.
And that was the very first thing I thought. I saw the leather in the store. I'm like, this looks like a slaughterhouse, like a few days later, right? Like, and the guy just moved with it, but that's a vegan.
Right, exactly.
And plant-based.
Different standards. Yep.
Yeah. So, and you and I know that. And just so everyone's listening out there, we're both aware of that. But it's become common to talk, say, a vegan diet when someone's eating like a vegan. But the truth is, Deb and I are well versed that her and I are doing this for ethical reasons and for no other reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Vegan do it.
As my shirt vegan says. Do it. That's right.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Right.
Our recipes are all plant-based. So this is our form of activism, at least for me, is teaching people that they don't need to eat meat, that they can eat. There's a vegan, hold on. It'll come to me. I'm losing brain cells. Anything that you want to eat, there's a vegan version. Mm-hmm. So it's not that hard. In fact, I was talking to somebody at the gym the other day, and she was going to this restaurant, and I said, "Oh, is it good?" She goes, "Yeah, they have the greatest shrimp tacos." And I said, "Yeah, well, I'm a vegan, so, and then she's like, "Oh, that must be really hard." And I'm like, "No, really, it's not. It's not hard at all." So, but it's just your personal choice. And we have nothing against people that do or don't. So don't come at us for that, please.
Yeah, I don't care what you eat.
No, I really don't. I'm not your mother.
Yeah. But the other thing with the vegan versus plant-based, I'm okay if someone's want to call themselves vegan if they start down a plant-based diet, because eventually, if you are able to get the benefits of that, some of those people do wind up doing it, realizing how they're saving the planet or not harming the animals and saving the environment, and they do start making changes in other parts of their lives, right?
Right. And that's how I started, because I did it for my health, and then I started learning about the animal agriculture and then the environment, and then it was like, I'm in 100%. So I don't care how you get there.
Yeah, the animals don't care. They just don't eat them. That's all they care.
Right, right.
And as long as you're working toward that. A friend of mine was like, "Oh, listen, I made a vegan choice. I went to Goodwill and got a leather belt, right?" And I said, "Actually, that kind of is a vegan choice, because you didn't go and buy a new one, which would have caused the manufacturer to order new belts, right?"
Right.
Right. Obviously leather's not vegan, but there's no reason to throw away everything and have new stuff made, because that just causes a bigger environmental mess. So, I could, the line of thinking there, I was like, oh, I appreciate that this person is thinking enough, right? Like, oh, I would love to tell Joey I was able to do something that I reuse something without causing the death of something else. So I was like, oh, I'm very proud of you. That was amazing.
And it's funny, people do that to me too. They go, "You'd be so proud of me. Last night at dinner, I got the vegan option." And I'm like, "Good for you. That's great." Yeah, it's really cute. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yes, very cool. All right. So just know that if you are having a plateau in your weight loss or fat loss, then just track for like 7 days. and see what happens. And it's an eye opener. It was for me, for sure.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned is, you're tracking a lot of things, but I was on the Select solution when I tracked, right? The biggest thing that I learned was I was I wasn't getting enough protein because I just started with the trainer. He's like, you're not getting enough protein. And I was like, sure, I'm getting plenty. And then when I just tracked for a week, I was not. So, it's very easy to undereat the amount of protein you need. And if you look at the how much do you need? If you look at some of the resources, I look at the National Institute of Health. They have an article, which I actually have on my desktop here. The article is called Protein Consumption and the Elderly, for us, because that's us. What is the optimal levels of intake? And this is from the National Institute of Health, their Library of Medicine. And it says that the optimal intake amount for an aging person is 1.2 to 2.0 grams. So 1.2 to 2.0 grams of protein per kilogram, not pound, per weight a day. So for someone like me who's 155 pounds right now, that's 75 grams of protein through 140 a day for an aging person. I was not getting that. I was
not even close.
I had like 35 for the day, right? On Start Solution. So just tracking made me realize how easy it is to to not get enough protein every day, right? Along with everything else. Did you find that too?
Oh, totally. I think maybe I got 50 on a good day, but it was crazy. Yeah. And most people, if you're just guessing, you're always going to underestimate the amount of calories and you're going to overestimate how much activity you do.
Yeah.
I think that's just human nature. And then there's no denying when you track it. You're like, okay, time for some changes.
Exactly. I swear, if you just track, even if you're getting enough of what you thought, if you just track for a week, you will be forced to make some changes of some sort, right? Yeah. Because you're going to be shocked about something that you thought you were a super person at and realize, oh man, I'm not.
So another thing that comes up a lot is hormones, because obviously women 50 or so, we go through menopause. So our estrogen just says goodbye. And that can affect your weight and your mood and a lot of other things. So if you're not on hormone replacement, it's definitely worth a talk with your doctor and to see if you're a candidate. There's so much new research now. And if you go to menopause.org, you can find a doctor near you that is well versed in hormone replacement. But I think it affects men too, don't you think, Joey?
Oh my gosh, Deb. We have the same problem, right? Like we are losing testosterone, men, quickly as you get older. So and we're not, like, I think you and I have talked about this before, we're not absorbing protein the way we used to. We absorb less of the protein we're taking in, which is why it's fine to get extra protein, right? I was reading somewhere where people were like, well, if you get over 30 grams, your body just poops it out. That's not true, right? We're not absorbing it as well. Getting the extra protein is like a little insurance policy, right? Yes, men, Deb, women have this. This is where I always feel like everything's a double standard for men and women. Like I said before, I'll get on YouTube and do a whole video about something, and then you or HCH or Kiki will do the same video, right? And the comments will be like, what was wrong with your nails? They didn't look right. Or your hair, it looked better in your lap. Like, no one would say that about a guy, right? It's the stupidest stuff. And so it's such a two-way, it's such a double standard. Well, the double standard is against the men in this one, right? Because women can be like, oh, I got to have my hormones checked, which of course you do. But the minute a guy, if I start talking about, look, I'm gaining muscle, right? But I'm not gaining it fast enough, and I'm not losing the fat. I want to get my hormones checked. They're going to be like, oh, you're on TRT, right? Oh, you're injecting steroid. Oh, you're on testosterone. And it's just like this taboo with guys, right? And the truth is, just like you said, guys need to have their hormones checked. We're losing testosterone, right? Now, I'm not on TRT. I'm not on anything. And I've changed my life drastically over the way I look over the last year and a half. But it's been a struggle. I don't know that I'll live long enough to get to my goal, right? Even if I live to be 100. Like, I don't know that it's going to happen. I need to have my body make more testosterone naturally. And I'm going to speak with the doctor about it. I've already started. So men, if you're listening, I know our audience is mostly middle-aged women, and
But they have husbands.
that's right. Oh, so that's another thing. People at work, oh, I was talking to my husband about what you said on your video. That's true, right? So, men, if you're listening, or women, if you're listening for your men need to have testosterone check. They need to have hormones check. It's not a taboo subject. It has nothing to do with ED or any of that stuff. It's all about, we're losing testosterone just like you are. So we're struggling as we get older to make the gains. Whenever I'm like looking at people online and you know, guys that are muscular and like, oh, I just saw some guy yesterday, I dropped 50 pounds since February and it's August, right? And he's just ripped. And I'm like, you did not do that on your own, right? I'm sorry, right?
Yeah.
I'm all for calorie in, calorie out, but you know, no. So he's on testosterone, he's on TRT. Like, one of the guys I knew at the gym was on TRT and he was 29 years old. Like, what do you mean you're on TRT, right? That you should have great testosterone. So people use that stuff as a clutch in the men's like hormone thing. But the fact is, we need what you guys have. We need regular doctor visits and we need interventions.
And testosterone is something that they do not check regularly. So you need to ask your doctor that you want to have your testosterone checked. Because my husband had to do that. And the lady's like, his doctor's like, well, and I'm like, no, let's just do a blood test. It's a simple blood test. And he was fine, but it's like, that should be automatic, especially when you're, you know, a 60-year-old man. They should be checking it. So just keep that in mind.
All right. So here's the takeaways. Listen, you're not alone. Deb and I have told you this many times. We're suffering with you. We're all suffering together, right?
Right.
Even seasoned plant-based eaters like us hit plateaus. You know, it's just part of life. I feel like we have to pivot every 2 years and kind of learn a little bit more. And I think just keep on learning more and more is probably good for us. Results come from consistency, data, and personal honesty. Don't lie to chronometer.
So if you've made it this far in the podcast, or if you're watching it on YouTube, then comment below with tracking.
Yay.
And that way we know that you made it to the end with us, and we really appreciate it.
All right. What a great episode.
No, it was good. We're so smart.
All right, everyone. Don't forget to leave us a review on your podcast provider, Apple or Spotify, so you can help the show. We really appreciate you. And we thank you for being with us. And we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.